Welcome back to episode 17 of the Simple Idea podcast. I'm Makai Green, if you don't know already. Missed last week's episode, but this week's episode is obviously up because you're listening to it. And I do have an explanation, as I typically do. I know you guys might think it's an excuse at this point, but, just bear with me. Life happens. But this week's episode is about traveling abroad. And I actually just recently traveled abroad to London. And that took place from, early July to about the end of July. From the 5th to the 27th to be precise. And it was about a 3-week period where I took a photography course over at the University of Westminster. And it was a really awesome experience. And throughout the course of this episode, you're probably going to hear me say really awesome experience at least 4 billion times, because that's what it was. It was definitely surreal. It was out of my comfort zone. It was just a totally different experience that I wish I could do all over again. And I would do it all over again if I could. And like I said, it's life changing, and that might sound cliche, but it really is. I recommend at least everyone, tries it at least once, if they have the opportunity to. And if money is the issue, I know that can be tough to swing, but, with life, you get experiences and that's it. Money can come and go, but experiences are, what really stick. So kind of keep that in mind if it's something that you're thinking about. But just traveling abroad, it was an awesome experience. As I said before, I'm going to be saying that a lot. So why did I decide to do it? A few months ago, I decided I wanted to travel more, and I also wanted to get outside of my comfort zone. So I made that promise to myself about December-ish, January-ish of 2018 going into 2019. And I've pretty much stuck with it. I've traveled quite a bit since. Some of the other locations were not as impressive, and they were within the U.S., but still traveling nonetheless. So I decided I wanted to just travel more, get out of my comfort zone, and just experience something new outside of my day-to-day routine and, day-to-day lifestyle, I guess you could say. And lastly, I just wanted to grow as an individual, and I felt like traveling abroad would give me that opportunity. So around, January to March-ish, I was like dabbling with the idea. I wasn't taking it completely, seriously. It was kind of like a in the air type of thing. And, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And then I slowly actually started, going through the process of, traveling abroad, filling out the necessary paperwork, signing documents, sending papers over to the study abroad office here at my university. All these different things to put me in the position to actually go. So then fast forward to about May to June-ish, or more specifically, I guess the end of June. I was like, okay, this is actually reality. I'm going to be going to a totally different country by myself where I know absolutely nothing or nobody at all. I don't know anybody, and I'm going to do it. And I wasn't prepared at all. I mean, I was, but not the way I should have been, I guess. I was still packing the last, day or two before I had to go. And even the day of, I was still packing stuff. I don't think I took it as seriously as I should have, because I didn't think I was actually going to go through with it. And then, as you can see, I went through with it. So I did it. When I got to London, which is where I was studying abroad at, I actually went a day early. And what that did for me was, I didn't know anybody there. I didn't have transportation from the airport to where I was staying at. And I had to basically find myself from the airport to where I was staying at and just hang out by myself for the day, kind of figure out where things were at and do things on my own. And at this time, I didn't have data on my phone because I'm in a different country. So I blindly decided to get into an Uber, and hopefully he or my driver was taking me to my destination, which he did, which was awesome. Had a really good conversation with him there too. And not that that's applicable to any of this at all, but, I thought I'd throw it in there. But, I didn't expect to do this, and I did. So still kind of shocked, and I definitely miss it already. I just got back a few days ago, and I would do it all over again if I could. If anybody's thinking about traveling abroad, my best recommendation is that you do it. Just because, life is all about gaining experiences and sharing stories. And this is just one that I'll be able to tell throughout my lifetime, just like you would be able to if you did the same. So I'm going to get into some of the takeaways of kind of my experience traveling abroad. I definitely got to experience a new environment, and I had an urge to see more of the world. And with just this trip, I was able to see more of the world. When I went to England for this class, I actually went to England, or mainly stayed inside of London. At one point went to Cambridge, and I also managed to find my way over to the Netherlands, actually, and Amsterdam more specifically. I hit up a ton of museums, and for my class, I did a bunch of my classwork and stuff like that, and I'll get into Cambridge and the whole classwork thing in just a moment. But back into the takeaways, I just met a ton of new people. I have plenty of stories to tell, and with Cambridge more specifically, I was able to interview YouTuber and junior doctor Ali Abdaal, and I was actually able to interview him by shooting him a quick email while I was in London. I'm like, hey, I have a podcast. It'd be really awesome to have you on. I'm a huge fan of your work, and not even a fan, but supporter. I like the work that he does. So he actually got back to me, responded, and he was out in Cambridge. So I was like, all right, I'll head out your way, and we can shoot this podcast episode. So we did. It was a really good episode. Nerves got the best of me because, somebody of his stature and level of success can obviously be a bit intimidating, but you got to remain cool. Still something I'm working on, and I feel like since I've started this podcast, I've kind of come into my own with that, but, not to get off track here. Met up with him, recorded this episode with him, which was last week's episode 16. Go check it out. It's called Authentic Conversation with Ali Abdaal. Real good episode where he drops a bunch of crazy knowledge on things that just blew my mind, to keep it honest. But after that, got a chance to chop it up with him, just talk for a few hours. He gave me some life advice, and honestly, it might have been one of the highlights of the trip just because of some of the advice he gave me and just the interview that I got to do with him altogether. So definitely one of my favorite experiences from that trip altogether. As for the last takeaway, I would say it's just more knowledge on photography. So going into this class, I had a decent amount of knowledge on photography, or I guess you could say like the foundation of it. And I kind of just built on the foundation more so with this class that I took, and kind of touched up on the basics and learned a few more tips and tricks, and got to work with different equipment, visit different locations, visited a ton of museums and different buildings, and saw a lot of different artwork. And the experience altogether with this class and the university that I attended was amazing. The University of Westminster, I can't say enough about it. It's a great university with professors that know how to do their job. Like they care, and they're real passionate about their work, which is what I can appreciate from any teacher, really. So shout out to my professor. He was great. Gave me a lot of good pointers. My project went pretty well. Just the overall experience was amazing, is what I'm getting at here. And those are the key takeaways. Just being able to experience something new, a different culture, a new environment, a different country. Like I said, I also got a chance to visit the Netherlands, Amsterdam more specifically, and that was already cool within itself. And I kind of wish I hit up more countries while I was there, but 2 is good to kind of, scratch off my list for now. But yeah, at this point I'm rambling. Just a lot of different thoughts and things that went well, and just amazing experiences that I'll remember for a lifetime. Just the people that I met, the stories that I have to tell, and then briefly getting into the people before I wrap up this episode. A lot of the people that I met through this study abroad program, they were also kind of traveling alone by themselves. I mean, a few people did know each other, but the majority of people didn't. So we were all thrown into this like brand new environment where we didn't know a lot, and where some of us actually haven't even traveled overseas before. So I think I was able to make some friends that'll probably last a lifetime, if not a few years, just because we were able to build a connection that most people wouldn't build or be able to build, just due to the circumstances. Like we're all placed in a situation where we need to rely on one another to kind of navigate, get around, be on time, figure out where things are at. And in that process, we develop friendships and bonds. And by the time the experience is over, I can genuinely say I've made a few decent friends that I expect to last a lifetime. So shout out to you guys if you're listening. Appreciate meeting you. It was just a surreal experience altogether. And I don't know, I just appreciate it. But just a quick recap so I can close out this episode. I know it's cliche to say it, but it was a life-changing experience. And if you have the opportunity to do it, do it. It definitely adds to the college experience. And at this point in time, it's good to meet new people and see new things. And this is an opportunity that allows that. So just take that in consideration if you are on the fence about it. Money comes back, experiences don't. So think about it like that and let your heart kind of guide your decision after that. But with that said, I do want to close out the episode. If you're still listening, thanks for listening. Check out last week's episode with Ali Abdel. Let me know what you think. And I mean, I guess you could just listen to it, share it with a friend, do whatever you want to do with it. Don't want to get too much into that, but it was a good episode. Go check it out. Thanks for checking out this week's episode, though. And if you enjoyed, definitely leave a review on iTunes because it helps the podcast out tremendously, actually. And if you enjoyed, share it with a friend, subscribe. Let me know what you think needs improvement, what could go better, what could, be changed, what works well, what doesn't. Any feedback kind of helps me make the show better. And also let me know what you think of the people that I have on for interviews. If you want to see more authors, if you want to see more artists, whatever type of people you guys want to see, I want to provide you guys with the most, value that I can. Typically what I do when I look for these people that come on to my show, I try to get somebody that's very, very knowledgeable about a lot of things in general that could apply to most people's lives if they apply those things in a very minute and simple manner, if that makes sense. So it's very practical advice that you could, apply that very day. And I kind of want to keep it that way. But we're going to experiment. We're going to see. My point is all the people that I have on the show, they're typically going to be people who are knowledgeable in a lot of different things or areas that I'm not, and I'm pulling value from those people, and I also want you guys to pull value from those people. So let me know what you think of the guests. So far, I think I've brought on some pretty inspiring and influential people, but if there's anybody specifically you want to see, just shoot me a quick DM, a quick tweet, even a review on iTunes. I'll check it out, and I'll see what I can do. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys this week. I do want to mention one last thing, actually. If you head over to the simpleideapodcast.com, you can check out my weekly newsletter. And with that newsletter, I'll basically be sending out about one email a week, give or take. It'll be about one. Nothing invasive, nothing spammy. And it'll just typically be about what's going on with the podcast that week and what guests I have on and what the show will basically be talking about. So if that sounds interesting, check it out. I'll also give some practical, personal development tips and advice that you could apply in very quick and easy ways to hopefully help better yourself as a person. Anything that I'm experimenting with, I kind of want to share with you guys, so those will probably be included in those emails. But just so I close out, you can follow me on social media at Green Mackay, if that makes any sense. So Twitter would be Green Mackay, Instagram would be Green Mackay. And that's all I have social media wise at the moment. But anything else I have will pretty much be that too. So hit me with a follow on Twitter or Instagram. Let me know what you think of this episode and last week's episode. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.